Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Oh, I'm so excited. I just wanted to get that in before I start talking a little bit. Okay, we have a show today that I think is going to be very different. We have Dana in the studio. We have Steve, my husband. We have Dawn. We have Freddie. We have Max. And we have a couple of people over there. Okay, so we have a busy studio, and I'm really excited about what you're going to be asking me. As you said, we're going to go a little bit deep today, and that's fine with me, because I don't know I kind of overheard a little bit of the questions, but that's fine. I don't really like to know the questions, as my audience knows. So it's better that I don't know, because even for myself, I don't want to think that I'm imagining anything. So, I mean, I don't believe I am, because I don't know the answers to a lot of the things that I answer on the show. But it's still nice validation for myself too. So on with the show.
Awesome. So I just want to preface with, I've been on your show a couple of times.
Right.
And the first time we got really deep, we connected to a Pleiadian collective.
Right.
That was assisting you. And then I don't remember the second time, but we talked about a lot of cool stuff, but I remember we were going off. So I made this list of questions. There are 5 different categories, but they're on stuff that I think is really, I find interesting, and I'm hoping your audience finds interesting as well. But it's going to require you to really go deep.
Go deep to the next level deep.
Can we can we take a second to take a breath?
Yes, we absolutely can. You see, in a way, I'm happy that I'm doing this, because when I'm on the show, I'm very aware of what you're telling me to do. So my guides let me know to do that. So giving me instructions is actually a good thing, because I don't usually, Dawn is amazing with her questions. You are. You don't, I got 2 amazing people, 3. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute for myself too, which I don't usually do. And I think that's a good thing.
Please take a minute.
That's really what I was trying to say. Okay.
Okay, so because of different categories, I want to ask a couple questions about star seeds. So whoever can best answer those questions, I ask that you please come to the forefront. Okay? Throw you a softball. So, so it's my understanding that star seeds, there's a lot of communication telepathically. It looks differently for different people. And that I believe that there are actually aspects of ourselves that are in different dimensions, in different realms, that we call ETs, but they're different aspects of ourselves. And they connect with us to help us assist humanity during this time. Is this true? And could you give us a little more information on that?
And I can give you a really good example, because I have Steve sitting here. And if you remember, did I tell you not the other day that there are different aspects of ourselves? It was very hard, especially when you hear that for the first time, and I totally understand that. But I had this conversation explaining exactly the same thing to you. So yes, there are different places that we are, so to speak, or aspects of ourselves where we know what's going on here. I call it our core. It's our core. This is where we are. But that doesn't mean that we're not somewhere else. And when you mentioned star seeds, and I like the way that you presented that, Dana, because there are aspects of ourselves, and I believe that the star seeds here, we're all capable. I just want to say that everybody is capable of doing these things that we're doing here and more. However, we're all on a journey, and that journey, as we move along, we're not always at the same, there is no time, but we're not always at the same place on the same journey as everybody else. So it's not even a time frame. Let's say I've been doing this for 100 years, or hundreds of years, so to speak, and somebody else 1,000. This is just an example. It doesn't mean that that person, it's when you begin to wake up. So the more that you hear these things, I feel, that's what they're telling me, the more deeper you can go into the situation. because we look at things differently. We can hear the same thing, but the more you're on your journey, it doesn't matter to mean that you're better than anyone else, but the more you're on that journey, you're going to interpret it slightly differently. So the fact that you brought this up, the fact that I had mentioned it to you, and you're a good example, because here we're talking about the same thing. We are in different places. So there are aspects of ourselves, and star seeds, I forget the beginning of the question. A star seed is someone that's basically seated themselves here on earth, that came in with I call it knowing. It's not knowledge that you're reading necessarily, it's a knowing inside you, that there are aspects, and especially with a star seed, will be somewhere else, and they're aware of that. That's the difference to someone that isn't aware. They don't know there's somewhere else.
So the guidance, and I like to interchange starseed and light worker, because starseeds are just working with the light.
It's just, I'm not keen on labels.
That's why I wrote Decoding the Woo Woo to make fun
I
of
didn't
the
know
labels.
that, but I'm also not keen on the labels. You are who you are, and you present it how you do.
I totally agree.
Right.
So here's my question: just to be clear, we're saying that these aspects of ourselves that we're connecting with, that we're looking like we're looking as if they're outside of us, they're just aspects in different dimensions that are interacting with us to assist us in this place right now, and to assist us in helping move humanity forward in its evolution and its ascension.
Exactly. And I think maybe a better way to explain it slightly, and I feel that because I have talked about this before, is that we have a higher self. So our higher self is the aspects that can split into certain places, and then they're there or they're here. I call this our core existence right now, because we're fully aware of where we are.
So, caught me with my...
No, that's okay.
with my Gatorade. So here's the thing: if the starseeds / light workers / people that we're not going to label, if they're here to assist humanity in its evolution, and we're watching what humanity appears to be falling apart, but it's just a breaking down of the old system.
Exactly.
But a lot of light workers, I'm just going to call them that, because I've got to call them something. A lot of the light workers / starseeds are starting to feel like they are being psychically attacked at this time. In my opinion, it's because it's like a toddler throwing a tantrum.
Right.
The attacks are coming from the desperation of the other side, and I'd just like to hear more of what is really happening, and what can the light workers do to protect themselves from these attacks.
Well, I think just knowing and having even said that helps, because we're all, I try not, I really work at this. I'm not scared, and I say honestly, really mean this, of too much. I'm really not. So the more I would think that I'm scared, the more I feel that anybody that does that, you have that possibility that you can have a psychic attack. I feel, and right or wrong, that this is not going to happen, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't protect myself. And you put a shield around you and you protect yourself, but especially now, that again, there is no time. We're here just in our now and to the next now. But this is our now for what is going to happen. And so much is happening with the world right now, with Earth, not just our planet, actually everywhere, but they're watching us right now. So we're going through that shift. So the more and more people that chose to come in at this particular time are beginning to wake up. These are expressions now that many people have heard. So I feel pretty confident that people at this point are understanding what I'm saying. So now is the time. If there's time, now is the situation here. We're going through a lot, but we have to go through that. I'm realizing that more and more, because Earth itself is Gaia is going through a process, and unfortunately, and we hear that, but you have to have these things in order for it to it doesn't disappear, but you have to, it's like putting yourself into a bottle and you press on it. It's going to eventually explode, but without that, there's no movement, so to speak. So that movement that we're going through now seems very chaotic, and it is chaotic, but it's something that really people may or may not want to hear this, but it has to happen for it to get better eventually.
Yeah. It's like the birth canal.
Yeah,
You know?
in a long sort of way, that's exactly what is better. I just wanted to explain that to people because they're going, what do you mean? It's true. Yes, it is. This chaos is for a reason, actually.
So let's just take a second to take a breath, because I want to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So if people, again, not just light workers, because the light workers are leading the charge, but it's really everybody.
It's everybody, but they're not. Some people are more aware of it.
Some people are more aware. So how do people learn to trust their knowing, to trust what they see that they think is outside of them? Like, what is one thing that I call them the they.
Okay.
The they suggest that people can do to help them through these times and to help them fortify themselves in these times.
Well,
really.
I'm just getting pay attention. Pay attention to signs, to people, to even people's responses to things, because we're all going through a mess right now. And the more you can stay, I say stay calm, but just pay attention to things. The signs, and I say this often, actually, the signs are all around us. So if you have an open mind, you pay attention, keep your cool, so to speak, and believe that anything is possible, that it's not necessarily what you're imagining. There are signs there for us. This is actually imagination anyway, but be aware of that. And you'll see certain things. And if you're ready, you know what? Just say, I'm ready, and you're going to see certain things happen. That's all you have to say, Dana, correct? I'm ready. Bring it on, right? I know.
Bring it, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
But you've got to be ready for that.
That's
because
what
if
you've been telling me for a very long time.
There you go. Because you've got to be ready for that. Because suddenly you go, what is I'm not a good example of that, because I did not have a clue when this happened. I did from another lifetime, but I didn't remember. When I woke up one day, a completely different person. Somebody tells me exactly what I had dreamt the night before. I wasn't ready, but I was. But I didn't know I was ready. So it had to take something like that. I mean, my story is crazy, that someone gets into my dream because they knew who I was. I would never have believed this, and I still couldn't. But over the years, I realized how Alda was able to do that. But I can't, even that, though it had happened to me, what it did is it opened me up to something more than what we just see here. And anyone that has that experience, I believe that happens.
You know, I love what you said. I think I just want to backtrack a little bit, because I think it's so important. You have to look around, you have to be aware, and you have to really stand in your readiness, like declare your readiness. And when you
that's
do
very
that,
important to
that's
speak
why
it out loud.
That's why I'm repeating what you said, because I think
absolutely.
it's so important.
Absolutely.
And I have to share something that's kind of funny. You know, back in the day, my friends and I, we were like sending lost souls to the light. And that's
how I started.
I remember you telling me that with the little kids and stuff.
Yes.
But the one thing that I thought was so interesting, and I think it's so important, it's a lesson for all of us, is that they'd be like lost. You know, they could have died 300 years ago and they were lost. And I'd be like, okay, is there a light? I don't see a light. I'm like, look around.
That's right.
And they look around, and like 2 seconds later, they're like, there it is.
Yes, yes.
So it's such an important lesson for us, because if you're like this, if you're like the horses in the race with the blinders, you're never going to see. But when people are ready to open their eyes, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And you see that coincidence is not, it's synchronicity. But
really
it takes a lot. You know, this is hard work. You've got to be in a way dedicated to this. But if you open yourself up to it, it's all there. It's all, depending how much you want it.
And you got to dedicate.
You've got to dedicate. You've got to. I mean, we're here to live, of course, but it takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah, commitment to self.
Commitment to self. I like
so this question. So again, back to the star seeds. This whole idea that there's people here that are here to lead the charge through all the chaos to the next level, and you know, there's a belief that Jesus might have been somebody, of we'll call a light
Right,
worker,
right.
Siddhartha Gautama, even Tesla.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
To move humanity forward. What is their take, or I'd like a clearer understanding. I believe that there are Jesuses and Jesuses.
Well, I'm getting Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh my God, Da Vinci!
Is he there?
List. Yeah, so I have another
Maybe because
list
we're
of
both
people-
artists.
Yeah, so all
but
of
he's
these,
coming through very strong.
But
Yeah.
are we here in larger numbers now?
Yeah.
Because they were like throughout history, one couple here, but those type of energies.
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, this is more open, much more open. We have the internet, so people that didn't even know that they were able to do it are doing things they didn't know they could. You don't know what you don't know until you start to know. So yes, we're more open. The other part of that, I'm sorry, I got on it. What was the other part of the question?
Well, because we know that these people were here to move humanity forward, but now I feel like we're here in like huge waves of people that are Jesus-like, that are Siddhartha Gautama-like.
Because before we came in, and I'm sure a lot of our audience at this point realizes this, we did choose our lifetimes.
Yes.
We chose here for that reason, because we're in that, again, there's no time, but it's hard to not talk about time.
Yeah.
So this is the time for people to begin to wake up that chose this to come in this time.
Yeah.
There are many people know that they didn't, but that's all right. They actually volunteer. They put their hands up to volunteer. And you know what? There was no more. It said, you're done. You've got enough here now.
Yeah.
That's where we
and
are. That's where we are now. For this.
And there's the waves, and again, we could get into the whole, but there's different
for
waves
people
of these
thinking,
volunteers.
what are they talking about?
I don't think so.
But no, but I don't believe that either, and I think so too. But just for you, Steve, to hear this, haven't heard it that much. How, and I love to say this because I say it to Russ too, how do we both know the same things? We haven't talked openly about this, and yet we know this because we're on that vibration. If it wasn't so, how would I be saying the same story, let's say, at this point, as Dana is?
It never ceases to amaze me that you can meet a perfect stranger and you click, you know the same things. You
That's
do
right. So that's, it's opening
this was
up.
totally foreign to me before I met you.
Yeah. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's take a breath. Okay. So
I'm not doing my job at looking at that camera.
So it is my understanding that when the ETs, when it becomes public, like when it's unavoidable, we're going to become privy to our true history. We're going to become introduced to hidden technologies. I want to know what they have to say. What will the consequence of these technologies becoming public, like free energy? Like, how is that going to affect our financial system, our governmental structure? Like, can they give us any insight into that?
Well, the reason, and that's one of the big reasons that this has not happened yet, because there are forces, let's say, we won't go into the whole story, that don't want you to have free energy. Yeah. So the whole thing, a lot to do with the fact that you mentioned that, is that there is free energy. And you know what? The more people that begin to wake up and see that, the more that we're going to be able to say, well, it's like I don't want to say a fight, but we're beginning to, let's say, understand more. So the more people that, let's start with that alone, because that's going to make a very big difference to the world, right? Free energy. Yeah. And then that goes on to different parts of that, because the monetary system, the money, I mean, this has all been, let's say, organized for us to not wake up. But once we start to, I think you'll find that these things will sort of be put in a place that won't be where it is now. That's what they're actually saying, without going into all the details. To suddenly say we won't need a currency, to say that I can't do that.
Yeah, no, it's got to be
in its, yes, exactly. So that it will change, and change is what we need, change. It will, as I said, right now it's chaos, but it's going to get better. Can I put a time frame on that? No. And even if I could, Dana, and we believe, there is no time, there are different timelines. So what I might say to you and predict for the future doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. You hear things, yes, most likely it would be because I'm saying it, but we can shift a timeline. So what I have seen in this timeline doesn't necessarily mean that it's going on that next timeline. There are many timelines. But all in all, to say this right now, there is going to be a distinct change on how we live. And they're watching us. The planets are wanting this to happen, but they can't. Again, most of the people say I'm scared of aliens. No, the majority, I'm going to say, are good. Yes, there is a certain couple of races that are not good, that don't want you to find this out without going into the people that know what I'm talking about. But they don't want us to have the free energy. They don't want us to have everything to be all, let's say, pleasant and easy to go through life. So we've got to have the difficulties to accept that, but we've also got to understand that. And we're going to get there, but I can't tell you a time on that. We would love it to happen tomorrow.
Well, I'm not asking for a time, but I do want to know, and I know you talked about this with Russ last week, so I don't want to get too far into it, but you have all these missing scientists, you have the David Wilcock thing, you have the whistleblowers. For me, all these things feel like there's a convergence to the unavoidable truth. What do they have to say about all of those things that are creating disclosure to ultimately...
I'm going to use the expression that Aldo always used to say to me. First of all, divide and conquer. That makes a lot of sense to me. But also little by little. He used to say that too. You disclose, not just disclosure of aliens, which we are definitely going to have, but little by little, because otherwise, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be much more chaos than we have right now. So they are doing this. They're putting the movie coming out, as you said. So,
June 12th.
And if someone mentioned, yes, exactly. And look at the commercials, the little aliens in the commercials. So our minds have to train ourselves to get used to the idea that we are not alone. We know we're not alone. But you can't just outright say, and they've been here for a long time, but we're not ready to see them. Some people, yes, but they want to make it more universal now for us to all accept that.
But back to what you said earlier about the readiness, there has to be a readiness.
Of course.
I believe a lot of the stuff that has gone on is to get it, like the drones in New Jersey. Even whatever it was, but it got people looking in the sky.
But then it stops. It hasn't stopped.
But it still had enough people looking in the sky, recognizing the possibility that might not have recognized it before.
But I was thinking, I'm not to interrupt you, but I was thinking about the other day. Yes, we know what that was. However, people talk about it, then it suddenly stops. But the next time they can say, you know what, that's happened a few months back. So that's how they're introducing. They can't. They want us to know. Of course they want us to know. But there are a few that don't.
So let me just shift gears a little. I got two things. I was like,
Okay.
I had to choose between the one and the other. And I've chosen this one. We're always talking about the sky and interdimensional stuff, but there isn't enough talk, in my opinion, about what's beneath the earth. We're taught it's the core and the whatever.
Right.
But there have been found underground cities. One example is one in Turkey. Guy was like digging in his basement or something and found this underground city that would have housed like 20,000 people at the time. And then there's underground military bases and all this underground stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have heard that there's an underground mythical city called Agartha.
Okay.
What can they tell me about that?
Okay. First of all, let's say I totally believe, I'm going to say, and they're telling me, under the Middle Earth, going further down, there are many, like Antarctica, we can use that too. So there are so much going on. There's cities below here.
Yes.
But, again, people are going, what are you talking about? But little by little, if we introduce this, absolutely. And what they're telling me, there is a whole civilizations. They corrected me. I was going to civilizations down there, as there is in Antarctica too, as there is on the moon.
And I won't call them ET because they are terrestrial.
No, they were here. They went underground. They were here before we were here.
But are they human, or are they part reptilian, or are they gray hybrids, or are they human gray?
It's a variety. Yes,
but it's
to pick anyone out. There's civilizations down there, and that's very, very big to say civilizations, because there isn't just one civilized.
Yes. And that's Agartha? Is that what we could?
Yes. And what happens, and people were saying, well, how do they live? Let's go into that below us. No, they have everything there. They even have the sky, because we don't know. It's different. It's what you get accustomed to. So how do we get accustomed to what we are now to be that the earth is round because I've seen it. So how do we stay on the earth if you think? Because you get accustomed.
Yeah.
It's like it's like they're showing me
It's
like these
adaptation.
little and they're showing me like these things like a salamander that would change color. You adapt. That's the word I'm looking for. You adapt.
Yeah. It's so
There's
fascinating.
civilizations, yes.
And when there is full disclosure, I believe that we are going to be privy to the truths, to the
That's
history.
right.
So with that said, if you look in, the biblical texts or ancient Hindu texts, or Native American texts, there's a lot of stories about things that would make sense, like ET wise. So when we see images, Egyptian images, like with dog heads and bird heads, and I always thought it was the artist's depiction. And oh my God, I remember I used to teach ancient history when I thought I knew what I was talking about. And one of my students is like, Miss Sardano, back in the day, did people have bird heads? And I laughed at her. And I was like, no, it's just an artist's depiction. So I don't think that's true. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. Well, first of all, I mean, aliens come in all different shapes and sizes, okay? But if we're talking, yes,
dogs.
absolutely, yeah. But also in the very beginning, because I was very curious when this all started to happen. I don't know if you've read Zachariah Sitchin's books. Yeah. So when they first came down here, when they were experimenting, because I was drawing.
You're talking about
sky
from
people? Yes,
okay.
that came from planets, other planets. But I know the name of the planet, but it doesn't matter.
Tell me.
Nibiru. They came down from Nibiru, so you know. So
This
we're
is
not making
Anunnaki
this
stuff,
stuff
right?
up, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So when they came down, they experimented. But the fact that Aldo told me about it, because he did know a lot. He knew a lot. I was drawing a half man and an animal body, and I'm going, what am I doing? So he knew I was ready to hear this. So in the very beginning, that's not to talk about the other aliens because they have different species and they all look different. But this is here. So in the very beginning, when they were experimenting, they weren't always getting their experiments correct. So that's where a lot of these, let's say, features, they may not have been able to survive here at that point, also because of the atmosphere. But they got a little confused with this in the very beginning until we became what we call human.
Yeah. So this is actually leading me to two questions, completely separate. So back to ancient Egypt again with the hieroglyphics and the animals and the different gods.
That's what they were seeing.
Yeah, that's what they were seeing, 100%. And there was during that time, my understanding, a lot of extraterrestrial presence. It wasn't like now we're like, oh, the sky people. They were there.
They went back, but there was a lot.
Yes. So the pharaohs, there was one Pharaoh Akhenaten. And Pharaoh Akhenaten had a reputation. They even said he was alien-like, and he actually changed the polytheistic religion, changed it to monotheistic. He even changed the capital. It was like almost like a cult, they called it. And then after he died, they moved it back and everything. Okay. Is there anything that they could? I personally, and I'm hoping your viewers might be interested too, would like a deeper understanding of what that Akhenaten thing was about. Because was he just of a different alien?
He was of a different alien.
And so because he was a different type of alien, was he have more malevolent?
Yes, because they come in, we all come in for a purpose, no matter if we're a different alien, if we're human, from another planet. We all have a journey. We're here for a reason. We're just not here. We're here to discover more, to help people. I believe that this is what he was doing. He was here to put, so to speak, to show what, I don't know a lot about this, so they're helping me. But what I'm hearing is he was his authentic self. That's what I'm hearing. Authentic self. That's very important for you to understand that. That will help you a lot.
So he was one of the people, again, we talked about the starseeds, that was moving humanity forward.
Correct.
But they rejected it because they weren't ready.
They weren't ready.
Like they rejected
There's nothing
Jesus,
different happening here right now.
Oh my God, thank you.
That's what they're saying.
I really was always, I always thought he was a bad guy. I always thought he was a bad guy because that's what history wanted us to believe.
No, he was his authentic self.
He was a
now,
good
having
guy.
saying that, may not necessarily gel, so to speak, with what was going on with humanity.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make someone bad because they're thinking
Yeah,
differently.
but the history books will tell you
Now,
otherwise.
I know very little about this myself
Yeah.
here, so this is exactly what they're channeling with me.
Well, you know what's really cool? Fun fact, that all of the statues, all of these Egyptian pharaohs, they wanted to
see.
be represented with strong shoulders in a certain way, and his was of his likeness. And so he had like a belly, and so that's part of the authentic self.
That's correct.
And so they
They're
describe him
so
as a,
happy that you now heard those words. I'm hearing
that's
that.
so cool. Oh my God.
It will make more sense to you than it actually will to me.
and probably
because,
to anybody else,
Yeah,
but you know,
yeah.
just let me have this.
If only you can be enthusiastic about it.
You know what? I need to cheer up. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Okay, so on the same.
Can we take a commercial break, Sally?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the break. I don't care if we don't actually, but
wanna keep going?
yeah, we'll keep going because it's a limited time. Although it's
Yeah,
an hour,
whatever-
let's go.
whatever she
yeah,
wants,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so on the same subject of the ETs being part of our biblical text or our historical text, in the Hindu they had these blue gods, and they had
Yeah.
Krishna and Vishnu and Rama.
Right.
And they had this blue hue to them. Now it's my understanding that the Arcturians have a blue
They
hue.
do. They're blue.
So what could they tell us about these gods and their star system of origin?
Well, remember this, we're comparatively a new race here. So anybody from any star system, if you think just technology-wise, doesn't mean to say it's the same technology that we've got, because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Are thousands and thousands a year ahead of us, Dana. So to say that these races are similar, some of them are, and that the blue, whatever, I think they're from, I'm not getting the name, but they're similar to us.
Yeah.
We all have our own, so to speak, I don't want to say Idicus. Oh, there's something up there that reminds me of something, that mask. Okay. So if you take a race of people, they're more advanced than us. So what we think is very different, it's not to them, and it won't be to us. That is part of what they're saying to me. Just ask me a little more of that question.
So
'cause
my
I'm going
question
a little
is, I understand that as humans we look at them as gods.
As gods,
I
yes.
want to know these gods, what was their purpose here, and what star system were they from? Were they Arcturian? You know, is this part of an extraterrestrial origin that we're going to find out?
It is part of an extraterrestrial. They're here. They are amongst us. They're showing themselves to us, especially the tall greys. They're coming in right now. There's three types of greys.
Yeah.
There's the smaller, the middle, and the tall ones.
Yep.
The ones that we are going to help, I believe, that's what they're telling me, that I hear now amongst us, are the tall greys.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. The little ones, they'll look very humanoid. They're all here. It doesn't matter where they're from. The ones that are here now are here to help us. Yes, behind the scenes, they don't want us to know. So there's the other races, which I'm going to say the reptilians. We know who they are.
Yeah, we know.
It's like, but they exist.
Yeah.
So as long as we know they exist, it's better to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And one of the races is the reptilians. They're not the only ones, but they're the ones
Yeah.
that come to the forefront, are not wanting us to see because they're both capable of doing the same things, if that makes sense. The bad guys and the good guys, because they are very spiritually advanced too.
Yes.
Both guys are. So, and technology-wise, they both are.
Yes.
It's who thought, but the majority of the aliens here that are coming in are the good guys that wanting to save Earth, truthfully, if you want to
that's
say
why
that.
they're here.
They're around the sites, the nuclear sites. We see they're up there. They're helping us.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the reptilians were here, not indigenous of Earth, but were here way before us and have staked a claim.
Well, they claim it.
They
that's
claim
why,
it, and
exactly.
that's why they're
they're
trying
very
to control us.
protective.
Yeah.
A lot of them went back, but a lot of them stayed
Yeah.
here. And I'm not going to be fair to them because they've done some outrageous things. But we need doing, but they're doing too. It hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped since, let's say, time began here.
Yeah.
But they're protecting anything to keep that control over us because they claim it as their own.
So let me ask a question, and again, this may require a breath. They require you to go a little bit deeper. As Earth's frequency rises and as the humans' frequency rises, we begin to see things that we were not able to see before because the veil is lifting and all that.
Correct.
So the reptilians who have the ability to cloak themselves, their ability to cloak themselves. This again, I'm asking for confirmation.
They do, yes, absolutely.
Their ability to cloak themselves is they're losing that ability as the vibration of the earth
as
rises.
It hires up, yes.
And as we also raise our vibration, not only are they losing the ability to cloak themselves, but we now have the ability to see
Correct.
what we couldn't see before.
Correct.
And so what are we looking at? Like we're like in that now, right? More and more people
That's where the
seeing
chaos
this.
is coming in.
That's where the chaos, because they're acting out, because they have to protect or whatever.
Of course.
So my question is, and I think that I ask this question for most people, if I'm a normal person, just pretend for a second, if I'm a normal person,
well, they're actually laughing.
yeah. Even they're laughing. That's awesome. But if I'm out, if I'm in Costco, if I'm in the Publix, and I want to see an extraterrestrial because they're among us, can I telepathically call for them? Like, what can people do?
You can,
So
but not everybody is going to see them. You have to reach that energy, your frequency, to be able to see them. Of course they're here. They shape-shift, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but someone that can do this can see that. Not everyone is going to see someone shape-shift, good and bad. But the good ones are here, and there are people, so that our audience is not, oh my God, what are they doing? There is another organization, the Light, I'm not sure of the exact names of it, it's called Light something, I'm not sure. They're here to know what's going on because they're at that level too, Dana. I don't know if you've heard too much about this, but they're telling me, and I'm understanding because Aldo used to talk about this, to lighten us, to make our light lighter, so to speak. But they kind of know they're ahead of our game, but they're not ahead yet of their game, but they're able to dim their lights, so to speak, if that makes sense.
No, I'm not understanding. Could you help?
Yes, there's a whole organization that human.
Oh.
Well,
human bodies.
Human bodies.
Okay,
They're saying that's debatable.
Yeah.
That have the same capabilities as they have. Let's say that.
As who
but
has?
they're using it for the reptilians, for the race.
Like the white hats.
Yes, but it's actually, well, the way they're saying it, yeah, we can say the white hats,
Okay.
but they're winning a little bit. That's what I'm trying. I'm getting a lot thrown at me.
Yeah, please.
So, okay, so you, by all means, ask me questions on that, because they're able to know and do things in this organization that we, as even though we're spiritually advanced, we're nowhere near as spiritually advanced as this organization here right now on Earth that is fighting the darker side.
Yeah.
Now they win sometimes they don't, but let's say, to speak, that there's going to be, let's use, I don't want to go into politics, but an assassination of some kind, and they're aware of that. What they'll do is they'll go into that, they'll infiltrate that along with the other race, but they're both able to see each other. So they have to do a lot, if this is making sense.
Yeah,
this is what they're telling me.
Very sci-fi.
In their way. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
because this could be a movie and no one would believe that this is true. But it is true, because they both can see what they're doing. So they're trying to infiltrate the other group, the good one, the good and bad, let me put it that. The good ones are trying to find out, to get ahead of the game, to stop the bad ones from doing, they've managed to do some, but not everything.
Yeah.
So speaking of movies, and you and I were watching a mini-series over the weekend by Stephen King.
Right.
11/22/63. It was about somebody who went back through a time portal to try and prevent the assassination of JFK.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I'm lost now.
okay, so
Sorry.
My point was, there's fiction that resembles
Yes, that's
reality.
yes, yeah. Exactly. That's how they can teach us, actually, in a way, of people just watching. ask me another question.
Well, just to jump on what Steve's saying, you know, there's a lot that we see on these shows that not only
Imitate.
make us privy to
That's
what's
right.
possible,
Yes.
but
This
there's also an agenda that a negative agenda that they show us things scientific in science
right.
fiction to be out with it, and we think it's fiction, but it's really their way of disclosing what they're doing.
And actually, this was very good because we're watching this together, and I see as soon as he went into a closet, so I said he's going into a time travel.
Yeah.
So I see it, but it's good for other people to realize, although it's, quote, fiction, it's not really. They're imitating what's really
Yeah.
going on.
Everyone should.
They're disclosing it to us.
Everyone should have the good fortune to watch something like that with Sally, because we stopped the movie 800 times, and I get an hour's worth of dissertation on what just happened.
This is
Oh,
true.
that's so
This is
awesome.
true.
That's so awesome. But I want to go full circle now, because we've gone from starseeds to the ancient texts and historical figures to extraterrestrials. But you said something early on in the conversation that I think is so important, and it's that our willingness to open our eyes, our willingness to look around, to discern, to ask questions, that is really what's going to guide us as individuals through.
Absolutely.
Do they have any advice, any how-tos? Like, what should the human do to not completely lose their crap during this time?
What we were just talking about is a very good example, because the fact that we just mentioned, as Steve said, I was pointing things out in the movie, the signs are there. They put the dark side actually put out movies and laugh, because they're showing us what they're
and
doing.
Music.
And that's
music,
right.
with
Music,
all their
yes.
with all their
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I learned something myself the other day, and I don't know if this is through channeling or the fact that I got to listen to it, is that a lot of the celebrities, I'm not certainly going into names, but you'll know what I'm talking about, actually have to use a sign or something to say that they are part of this group, which is the dark side, okay?
Yes.
And they sign to people. So I'm not saying look for their signs specifically, because we wouldn't necessarily know, but they have to show themselves.
Yes.
So there's that. But they take that as fun, because they leave all these signs
It's a
around,
game.
and we don't know. It's a game. The whole thing is
Yeah.
just a game, good or bad. I'm not going to say they're really bad and we're really good. It's a game. What we perceive as bad, and yes, I will openly say some horrendous things, and that I know, but this is how we're learning. We're learning to play our game, and we go
Yeah.
to get onto a little different subject, but as you know, we go into different frequencies and different dimensions. But that doesn't mean we got it when we move up to the next dimension. We have different other things to contend with. We're learning all the time.
Yeah.
That's the enjoyable part about what I do and what you do, because I would not change my curiosity for anything. I love it.
Yeah, I think, just to throw, my 2 cents, I think people forget to enjoy this because it's really hard.
It's hard,
But
yes.
they're waiting for it to get easier to enjoy it. But the reality is you have to enjoy it no matter what it is, the yuck, the suck, in order for it to get easier.
Wonderfully said. Absolutely wonderfully said. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
But you've got, first thing to do is to know that there's something else going on. Because if we're so controlled that people just, all they know is they've got to pay their bills, they've got to make money, they've got to do this, they can't do that, because they have no time to think for themselves.
Yeah.
But once you start, and we have time, you know when we have time? When we sleep. That's where the clues are, a lot of that, because our mind is at rest.
Yeah.
So the main thing for our purpose, I believe, for you too, is to start to show people exactly what we're doing. How do we know? I was born a human just like you and Dawn, everybody in here. But apparently, and this is actually important, Alda, who came into my life, who had been looking for me since he was basically a year old in Peru, had known me for other lifetimes. I knew, he said to me, everything you're beginning to wake up to too. I didn't know that I knew this. I knew in one of my lifetimes, but I had it dormant. But it took me to be able to draw things that are signs and symbols of what we're talking about. He's telling me what I'm drawing. I had no idea. So I had to wake up because it was proof to me. I'm drawing things that I didn't know what they were. He's showing me, go into the internet, and some of these signs are secret, but we see them. I had to have been around at that time because how would I know? We're all not, well, I say even if we're first time on earth, we're still from somewhere else. We're all capable. It's not you, I, or anybody here. We're all capable of tapping into this. We just don't know we are. That's the importance.
So I really want to hear from them.
Okay.
In the best, I guess the simplest of terms. What are like 3 things that people can do right here, right now, to prepare themselves to be able to receive higher frequency information?
Well, I'm going to plug this show. Because right now what we're talking about, anybody that's in tune, stay tuned, tune in, not me. It's not an egotistical thing. But the thing is to go into shows like this, to listen, to have you as my guest on the show is making me go deeper, which is good. So be aware that these things exist. So once you start to open that up, I'm going to say that you start attracting because we attract what we are.
Yes.
It's like we're making our own movie. So people that are listening to this show, and there are many others, I plug Gaia a lot because they have a lot of shows on Gaia, YouTube. You go in, use that curiosity to look, use that time to look at shows that talk about this, if it's aliens, whatever it is, when did they come down, whatever. Train your mind that you have that curiosity, because we all have if you come to this world and you don't want to know where you're going or how did you get here, it's very unlikely that someone comes in that doesn't want to know anything. Believe in God, don't believe in God, it doesn't matter. That curiosity has to be here within humans. How did we get here? Use that and research. Listen to programs like this. Listen to people that go much deeper than I do. We're out there. Everybody that has this, not everybody, but the majority of people do want to share it, Dana. They want to. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I agree. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just add another layer to that.
Please do.
Because there's a lot of stuff that is out there now. And it's easy to get misinformation because there's a lot of people spewing.
Right.
I think accidentally they think they know, but they don't know. And then there's people who are intentionally, because they're part of, we'll call them the other team, they're intentionally sharing misinformation. And I think the individual's discernment, your discernment is crucial. So I totally agree with you that watch the shows, watch Gaia, watch the
YouTube videos.
Credible
people that they put on these shows.
But my question to them, to you, them through you, is how do people know, what can they do to prepare themselves so they can trust their discernment for the external credibility?
Well, you know what? I think you judge yourself in a way. So when you're ready to open up, this is what I'm feeling, you open up and you're going to attract. But with that attraction, of course, you're going to attract the opposite too. I have no fear, as best that I can. Yeah. So I would protect yourself, ask for the guidance. And when you ask for that, ask for the highest well-being that you're going to have in your lifetime that is good for you. You don't want the bad coming in. So what's going to raise your vibrational energy? Ask for this. Yes, there are people that imitate the good. We know that too. Yeah. It's going to happen, Dana, but that's part of a learning experience. Yeah. Nothing runs smoothly. Be aware that there is another side. So if your gut's telling you, simple as go this way on the street or that. It doesn't have to be all about this. Go with your gut, your first instinct, because that is you. That is your gut. That is inside you. That's your consciousness, your subconsciousness. So follow that. Can you make mistakes? Of course. We're here to actually make mistakes.
So we can learn from them.
Yeah, so we learn from them.
So we spoke about readiness earlier. So if a person isn't really at that level of readiness, if they turn on Gaia or they turn on Elizabeth April, like we watched the other day, they could be, turned off from learning because they were fed too much information.
No, because you have the control. Because if they're seeing, oh, this is too much, they just switch it off. Your mind will tell you that. Because Aldo I used to listen with my friend Marita, I know she's listening to the show, for hours because I was ready. But not everyone could have done that then.
Yeah.
People may be able to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but your mind will tell you when you're ready. As it begins to open up, you can take a little, it's like anything. When I started to paint, I never stopped day and night.
Yeah.
But not everybody will do that because I was out, so to speak, out of my body at that point. But it's all there. It's all there. We were talking about the Wi-Fi in the air. Everything, we can all pull from this. But first of all, you've got to know it exists. What's in the air? There has to be something, right?
Yeah.
It's a Wi-Fi system, if you want to put it as simple as that. But you have to be aware that there's something else. I might get the same thought as you. There's telepathy. We know that too. Not everybody believes it, but let's try and work at it. Let me think of something and you think of it. If it's tuned in, it'll happen.
Steve, just to what you said about the whole readiness thing, it's what you're being pulled to. So like when I first started opening up, I was pulled to Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks, channeling Abraham. Couldn't get enough. And then it graduated to Dolores Cannon. Then it graduated to Bashar.
Right.
But now if Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks shows up.
Let me tell you, he doesn't know these names.
Well,
but I know what you, but that's
I've
fine.
heard them mention.
But just know it was this one, then this
Yeah.
one, then this one, and whoever else. But now, if Esther Hicks shows up, I immediately change it. It's like eating too many hot dogs.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
over it because I no longer resonate. So if somebody is interested and they want to know more about what's going on in the world, something is going to call to them, and then they're gonna pursue that. And then that expansion will lead to something else, and that expansion will lead to something else.
Because most of the world are neophytes like me that have not been exposed to this for very, very long.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of opening up to be able to
A willingness,
to be willing to.
But what's
accept
helped you is the amount of synchronicity that we've had,
Of
Steve.
course.
He was ready. I don't believe anybody's in the wrong place. Yes, it might not be, you may not, the person may not know that, but so we got a lot of synchronicity, even just walking down the street, the very first one, which was exactly 4 years ago to the day, right? I won't go into the whole, suddenly a couple came up to us and the woman completely opened up to me what she was doing. He's standing there, never heard half of this, and I'm able to have the conversation like we're having with a complete stranger in Duval Street in Key West. So where does that happen? In a crowded street. You saw that. I've had the proof to tell you this because Steve's been with me through a lot. So you had to have opened up somewhere because these things wouldn't be happening. And many people out there will say, oh my God, you know what, that person, I need to see that person again. I need to think more about that show. I need, not necessarily mine, but many that are on.
And then the very next day, I asked you to marry me.
Yes, the strange thing is, well, strange, I even say strange, this street was packed with people. They were going to the same restaurant that night that we were going to at the same time. And they met us in the street. Well, when these things start to happen, that can't possibly be coincidence at that point, right? And another one happens. That's the beginning of opening up to this.
And my advice to people would be when you have those thoughts, oh, maybe I should call so-and-so, or something pops into your head, or we are trained to dismiss those things because there's too many other things to worry about. But what we really need to understand, if I have a thought about something, I do it immediately, or I write it down. And I get that. Or to call somebody, I stop what I'm doing and I do it because I know that's some sort of message to me to lead me in a direction that I need to go.
Exactly.
And I think that is a great piece of advice to people.
It is.
Those little things that show up.
Because they will
follow
happen,
them.
Dana. As you know, these things will happen. They happen all the time. They're just not ready to see it.
Yep.
But once you're beginning to see it, you've already started your journey.
Yep.
Because what's been happening has been happening most of their lives, but you're not open to it. Once you start your mind, your consciousness to realize that there's more things going on than you can see, one thing after another, that's been happening all the time, you're suddenly aware of it.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, but really simple.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
So I'm not even looking. I feel so bad. I forgot you were here. I just go, yeah.
If I might mention, if any viewers wish to find out more about Sally and how her journey began, please scan the QR code on the screen. Get Sally's book, Call Me Zena. You can get it on Amazon or Author House.
Thank you. I can never bring my daughter to use because I'm on a different level right now. So these things, yes, they're things that are important, but somehow, and that's another way to tell people, because when you suddenly find that you're in a different space or you're able to do something that you didn't know you could do. I was able to paint. I didn't know that. So I opened up. It's exactly what we're talking about, actually. I can't advertise, so to speak, myself, that I can talk about all this on my show because I'm in a different zone.
Yeah. It's funny, people use the expression, oh, we're on the same wavelength. Where does that come from?
A lot of
the zone. Like,
yes,
where does that come from?
Exactly.
It's frequency. It's all
frequency. But you don't notice it until it's pointed out to you.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is to take note of what's going on. If it's, people say if it's too good to be true, it's not true. No, if it's too good to be true, that's what they want us to think.
Yeah.
It's too good to be true. It's all there. It's all about programming. We've been programmed to not believe this. Look over the thousands of years. They burnt people at stakes. They told you don't.
But that's a lot of ancestral fear. It's all in there.
It's all in there from other lifetimes. That is also another thing. But that's another show. We could do that too. Yes, we hold these things. We hold it. But once you begin to clear it, just like what we're doing right now, and I know we're getting to the end of the show, it has to reach a boiling point. And right now we're at a curious stage, as Earth is too. What's going on? We need to do this. We need to get rid of this to get to the good part of the story.
Yeah.
There's the bad part, there's the middle part, and then at the end there's the good part.
Yeah.
That's a good way to use our few minutes up. I guess we have the clock's not working, so I keep.
It was over there.
Oh, okay.
But while you're all talking about energies, you and I, Dana, have talked that not all energies are good energies. So while people want to open up and feel things, as you said to me, for every light worker there's something on the other side trying to say, don't do that or knock it down, because there are two sides to this spiritual realm, because not all spirit plays nice in the sandbox.
Yeah.
We've learned.
Well, there's a form of protection, which is a good point to maybe bring out. This is what Aldo used to tell me, and he was very, very into protecting himself, because I knew him for 20 years nearly, or 18 years.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even go into a restaurant, very rarely, but he'd walk all around. So he knew, because he was aware of that. But you put a shield there, and
mental.
Anything that comes to you actually will bounce right back.
If you mirror it.
You mirror it, and it'll bounce right back. So it basically is like a shield.
Yeah.
So if you're getting bad vibrational energy, actually you don't have to do anything if you've got this shield, because it routes right back to the person or thing or place to the person where you're getting it
and
from.
I think it's two parts. I think, if I cut myself, right, there's two parts to it. You put a Band-Aid on it to make it stop bleeding.
That's right.
And then you address the wound, stitch it, whatever you have to do. So I believe the shield is great for those moments, like it's to keep it from coming at you. But there's no better defense to dark or negative or dense energy than to align yourself, all the stuff I talk about all the time, because when your frequency is consistent baseline, I'm always at the hands, all the chakras are aligned, and you're living in love, and you're not living in fear, and you're living authentically, and your proper discernment and all of those things. There's a misalignment. It can't get to you. So if somebody's slinging doo-doo at you, it can't get to you. Not just because you're mirrors, which is your Band-Aid, but because you are impervious to that dense energy.
Because you're on a different vibrational energy.
It can't
it's
even
as simple as
see
that.
And if something sneaks in,
but you've got to be aware of it, Dana. But
that's what I'm
when you
saying.
I feel it, because I'm an empath, as we all are probably here. I'm not sure about you, Steve, but you feel it. So more fool us then if we allow it to happen. So you put that shield, but you can't. They can't get to your right because we've lifted our the fact that you can feel it, we've already lifted our vibration because we wouldn't know.
And if some doo-doo makes its way past your shield, then it's just information telling you.
It will be reflected back. There's
But I'm
no
saying
doubt.
if by chance the doo-doo gets on
it gets
you,
in there.
it's all it is information telling you where your alignment
That's
is.
exactly.
Oh, maybe I didn't put the shield up properly.
Perfect.
Or, oh, maybe I'm vulnerable and I'm carrying resentment. Let me look at that.
Perfect.
We are the answer to that
Perfect.
dark
Yes.
energy plane in
because
the
we
sandbox.
will know. We definitely will know. But sometimes, you lose we put our guard down, so to speak.
Oh,
Where does that come
and
from?
next thing you know, you got
We put
doo-doo on the side of your head.
Exactly.
You're like, how did
We
it
put
get there?
More fool us at that point. But it's also
Ready
a
to wrap
learning.
this up, Sally?
Yes. I'm going to give it to somebody
Dana
else.
starts talking about doo-doo. It's time to wrap it up.
Okay. Please, somebody do it. Okay.
All right, tune in every Monday to Call Me Zena at 2:30. When there's judo hits you on the face, to call Dana or to get in touch with the other side. Always contact Sally at Call Me Zena. You can scan the QR code. You can get a copy of her book. Follow her on YouTube because it will stay there in perpetuity.
Oh, that's important.
All yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for my audience. Once again, I'm only as good as the questions. And boy, did you give me some great questions, Dina. This is not the last time you're going to be sitting there. You know that too, right? Okay, thank you. See you all next week.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week